The slope is designated by the letter M. So when we see the letter M in connection with a line, we can expect it to be representing the slope. Well, let's work with some examples of this. In our examples, the instructions read, find the slope of the line through each pair of points. Find the slope of the line through each pair of points. Our first pair of points is 6, -5, and -4, 1. 6, -5, and -4, 1. When you have to memorize a formula, it's a good idea to copy the formula down each time you use it, and that aids in the memorization. So the first thing I've done is write the formula. M equals y2 subtract y1 over x2 subtract x1. Not only does this help memorize the formula, but it also helps you keep straight what is being put into the formula and where. Well, remember that the y2 is a y value for the second point. That means that we go to the second point, 4, 1, and pick the y value of that. Well, this is getting complicated, so let's label all of these values before we start using them. We have an x and a y in the first point. So here's x1, here's y1. In the second point we have an x and a y, x2, and here's y2. Now that our values are labeled, it will be a simple matter to fill in each piece where it belongs. So, as usual, we write our formula with a set of parentheses for each number that's to be filled in. y2 goes in the first set of parentheses, that's the number 1. y1 goes in the second set, y1 is -5. x2 from the second point, -4. And x1 is 6. So we have 1 subtract -5 over -4 subtract 6. Well, 1 subtract -5 is 1 add +5, which makes 6. And -4 subtract 6 is -4 add -6, which is -10. Well, that gives us 6 over -10, which means that our slope is -3/5. I've drawn the graph to the side showing the 2 points and the line that goes through. Here's the x-axis, here's the y-axis, and we have the points 6, -5, and -4, 1. So this slope value of -3/5 describes the slant of this line. It says a change vertically of -3 goes with a change horizontally of 5, -3 for the vertical change, 5 for the horizontal change. So if I start at one point on this line, I'm starting at -4, 1, and I change -3 vertically, that is I go down 3, and then 5 horizontally to the right 5, I'm back on the line. From there, likewise, down 3 to the right 5, I'm back on the line. And so the slant of -3/5, that vertical change to horizontal change, describes how this line is tilted on the graph. Let's look at another example. Our points this time are -3, 1, and -3, -6. Once again, let's label the values so that we'll know where to fill them into our equation. We're working with 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. The slope formula, m equals y2 subtract y1 over x2 subtract x1. A set of parentheses for each of these values. so that we can fill in the x's and y's as they belong. We begin with y number 2, which is negative 6. Subtract y number 1, which is 1. x2 is negative 3. Subtract x1, which is negative 3. Then we have negative 6, subtract 1, which is negative 6, add negative 1. That gives negative 7 for the numerator. And negative 3, subtract negative 3, which is negative 3, add positive 3, which is 0 for the denominator. And now you should be thinking, there's something wrong with that. Well, what happens, of course, is anytime we have a 0 denominator, the fraction is undefined, which means this slope is undefined. The slope is undefined. Well, to see how this line appears, I've graphed negative 3, 1, and negative 3, negative 6. Here the 2 points are. And you notice that the line is vertical. And so this says that a vertical line, which is not slanted, has a slope that is undefined. Now let's do some exercises. I've given you 2 exercises. The directions are: find the slope of the line through each pair of points, then graph the line. Find the slope of the line through each pair of points, then graph the line. The 2 pairs of points are the following. First, negative 3, negative 2, and 5, 2. Negative 3, negative 2, and 5, 2. The next pair, 2, 2, and negative 4, 2. 2, 2, and negative 4, 2. After you've copied these, stop the tape, work the exercises, then restart the tape to check your answers. Here's our first answer. The slope is 1/2, and the line is slanted, reading from left to right, going uphill. So we have negative 3, negative 2, and 5, 2. There's the line with slope 1/2. And the second example, second exercise, has a slope of 0, and you notice that the line is a horizontal line. Line with a slope of 0 is horizontal. Well, we can find the slope given 2 points. What happens when we're given not 2 points, but the graph? We have the following procedure. To find the slope of a line from its graph, first, determine the coordinates of 2 points on the graph. To find the slope of a line from its graph, first, determine the coordinates of 2 points on the graph. Second, use m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to calculate the slope.